Mystical Ninja starring Goemon is a 3D platforming adventure game developed by Konami in 1997. Hope you enjoyed that because that is as normal as it gets. Mystical Ninja is fucking wild, man. There are very few games out there that can truly make me stop, press the pause button, and go, what the fuck am I even playing right now? And most of the games that do are dog shit. But what sets Mystical Ninja apart is that it is distinctly not dog shit. This game is one of my favorite N64 titles, full stop. And if you know me, you know I love me some N64, so that's a big deal, okay? And my love for this game is directly linked to how absolutely batshit it is. Now, if you weren't born in the 90s or earlier, there's a very good chance that you have never heard of this game. Hell, even if you were born in the 90s or earlier, there is still a very good chance that you don't know what the fuck I'm talking about right now. But how can that be? How can that be? This game is fucking starring Goemon. Everybody knows Goemon from that super popular Ganbare Goemon series, remember? Yeah, for how few people are actually aware of this game's existence, even fewer know that Mystical Ninja starring Goemon is actually not the first game in the series. It's like the fucking 12th? Jesus Christ. The reality is that this game is just a single entry in the much, much larger Ganbare Goemon series developed by Konami, following the exploits of Goemon, a protagonist loosely based on Ishikawa Goemon, who was an honorable thief from Japanese folklore, kinda like a Robin Hood type figure. The series is, at current count, 29 games strong. And before you ask yourself how a series with 29 games flew under your radar this long, most of these titles were never released outside of Japan. And while the series has always sold very well there, apparently Konami considers the series a bit too tailor-made for a Japanese audience to bother releasing most of these titles overseas. But 5 games from the series would go on to get Western releases, one of which being the game we are talking about today. This honestly makes it even funnier to me that they kept the starring Goemon tagline for the Western release. Like, it's a big deal, like we're supposed to know who the fuck that is. Like, oh my god, they got Goemon for this? Although to be fair, it's not like this was his first Western appearance. That was Legend of the Mystical Ninja for the Super Nintendo, a cherished classic. Everybody knows this one. So of course you and anybody who plays video games should know who this character is, right? Wrong, he wasn't called Goemon in the Western release of Legend of the Mystical Ninja. They changed his name to Kid Ying everywhere outside of Japan for that game. A name they probably thought had a more Western appeal, considering I don't know how many Americans are familiar with Japanese folklore. However, Japan releases of the game would keep his name as Goemon. Now, fast forward 5 years and the series is about to get its second Western release, a chance to get a franchise going to build some brand recognition off of this character for a worldwide audience. So of course, the first thing we have to do is change his name back to Goemon everywhere outside of Japan. Like, what the fuck? Who the fuck is this guy? You didn't think Goemon had a Western appeal, but then change his name back to Goemon for the very next Western release? Were they trying to confuse people? Because it worked. It's like releasing a game starring Spider-Man and then the next one comes out and the main character is still Spider-Man, but everyone's calling him Eric now for some reason. And the worst part is that they did this with absolutely zero regard for the 82 people outside of Japan who played the Super Nintendo game, saw this cover, and went, what the fuck? But that's Kid Ying! Jesus Christ, I'm still talking about the title. Okay. Mystical Ninja starring Goemon follows the game's protagonist, Stephen Gilmore, and his 3 friends as they struggle to stop the Peach Mountain Shoguns, a gang of spaceship-flying troublemakers whose goal is to turn the entire country of Japan into a westernized fine arts theater, upon which they can perform for the entire world. Quick check on Wikipedia to make sure I got that right. Yep, Listen, the plot of this game is silly. Even if you took away the fact that this game has some of the worst and funniest English localization you will ever experience, you are still left with a main storyline that is just nonsense, and the game knows this. This is a game that does not take itself seriously for 1 single second. The cutscenes have a goddamn laugh track. There's a meat hammer that turns all of your enemies into food. Goemon throws boxes at a bunch of goblins and goes Super Saiyan. This happens. This is real. I am not that good at editing. And that's what I'm here for, man. I'm not coming to this game looking for a Final Fantasy VII experience, okay? I'm here for the bullshit. Honestly, I think this game can be summed up best with 1 single sequence. After the first dungeon, first run-in with the Peach Mountain guys, Goemon and Ebisumaru are like, yo, let's go to the wise man's house. He'll know what to do. do. So we head over there only to watch the guy's house explode right before our eyes. The Peach Mountain dudes blew him up, destroyed his house. And in the wreckage, you find this magic conch shell that Goemon blows, and then this happens. Oh, are you still here? I'd have thought that after seeing that, you'd have left to go play this game immediately. This sequence plays in its entirety 3 separate times throughout the course of this game. Once for every giant robot battle. Also, there's giant robot battles. And it'd honestly be enough to say that this game is full of shit like this that would have you laughing your ass off the entire time, but the craziest part about this game, and that's fucking saying something, is that it is actually genuinely good. This game has absolutely no business being as good as it is. This game was developed by Konami in 1997, okay? This was their Mario 64. By all rights, we should have had a Bubsy level situation on our hands here, but no. Konami said fuck you and actually took the Gambare Goemon series into 3D and fucking stuck the landing like it was no big deal. Goemon and the gang control surprisingly well here. They're very responsive. They stop on a fucking dime. I never really found myself slipping off of platforms or ledges like I do with a lot of early 3D efforts. Remember, this was pre-Banjo-Kazooie, pre-Ocarina of Time, post-Mario 64, but let's be honest, that's a bar Goemon was never going to be able to triple jump his way over. Sorry, buddy. So the fact that the game controls this well at a time when many developers were still trying to figure out what the D in 3D stood for is an achievement in and of itself. And I think that Konami was able to accomplish this largely due to the less is more strategy that they seem to employ here. In terms of movement in this game, you can run around 360 degrees, jump, and attack. That's it. And while I'd typically lambast a game for having such limited movement options, in this one very rare case, I think it actually works in the game's favor. You guys like that use of lambast? It's not like Konami were known for leading the charge in 3D platforming development, you know? So by keeping things simple, it ensured that the team could focus on just nailing down these basic movements in a 3D space. Something so many developers struggled with at the time, and something that plays a big part in determining which games from the era still hold up today. And by not overreaching, Konami ensured that they had a game that, if nothing else, felt good to play. Maybe not Mario good, but also not Bubsy bad, so you know. In fact, in terms of bare bones movement, I'd say that Goemon handles a little better than Banjo-Kazooie. Oh my god. Sorry, saying that gave me an ulcer. So if I had to harp on something, it'd be the camera control. There isn't any? Yeah, the virtual camera just kind of does its thing, but honestly it's intuitive enough to usually just stay behind the player looking forward, and it's going to be facing the way you need it to most of the time. It's just a pain in the butt, especially in dungeons if you want to take a look around the room you're in, or maybe get a better angle on an obstacle and you really want to and you just can't. Speaking of dungeons, this game's definitely got them. Like the movement, the dungeons in this game feel stripped down and safe. However, unlike the movement, this actually hurts the game more than helps. And it's a shame because you can really feel the effort here. Like, these were a bunch of devs clearly not used to creating sprawling 3D dungeons, and they legitimately gave it their best shot. Like, these check the boxes, you know what I mean? You got your keys, you got your switches, you got your boss fights. In fact, it's obvious the devs took a lot of inspiration from Zelda 1's dungeon design and just tried to move that into 3D. There's a much heavier focus on combat-driven challenge as opposed to head-scratching puzzles. Many times to progress, you'll just have to mow down a room full of enemies and grab your key. Most of the mental challenge I experienced in these dungeons were trying to remember where the fuck I was or what I was looking for. There's not a lot of structure to these dungeons. I remember one time I had already unlocked 2 doors with silver keys, right? Then I came to this other door that needed a gold key. Holy shit, that's a big deal, right? There's gotta be something big behind it. I'm about to fight the fucking boss or something. Nope, just more of the dungeon. And what's even weirder is that the very next locked door I came to needed another silver key. So like, what the fuck was the point of making that random other key gold? It didn't even open anything cool. Look, the boss fights are okay. There's actually some pretty solid platforming at times, but the fact that I couldn't tell you the name of a single one of these dungeons should tell you everything you need to know. But that's okay, because I play this game for the giant robot fights. When I said my enjoyment of this game stems from how crazy it is, I meant it. This world is packed with fun, random shit for you to do. If you're not jumping over logs, you're hiding from a giant toddler. If you're not climbing a haunted mountain, you're swimming up a waterfall so that you can become a mermaid. This world is so fun to traverse and explore because you never really know what the fuck you're going to be doing next. And if you watched my banjo video, you know that I love that shit. I also think it was a good call to make the overworld actual Japan. Like, when you fast travel, you can literally see the island of Japan below you. And a lot of the areas you visit are actual places in Japan, like Mount Fuji or the Kyushu region, and that's pretty dope. And the music that accompanies these areas, oh my god, this is one of the best soundtracks on the N64. I will physically fight you on this. Banger after banger after banger makes traversing this game an absolute treat. I do wish the overworld was a little more fleshed out, maybe had a bit more to find. As it stands, there's a decent amount of collectibles and locations scattered throughout, but not really enough to incentivize the player to really go out of their way to comb over this map. There's a lot of empty space, you know? I played a lot of Metroid growing up, so I need to check every square inch of a map for goodies, and there were a couple times I went to the very end of an area, big open space, and there was nothing waiting for me. It just felt like a missed opportunity. To add to that, I also wish the world branched out a little more. It can sometimes feel like one big linear hallway you're walking up and down over and over again, but if you think about it, Japan is kind of a linear hallway, so I don't really know if I can knock the game for that. There were many times while I was writing this script that I had to stop and ask myself if this game really deserved to be talked about. My last video was on Twilight Princess. What the fuck was I doing here? Was my nostalgia really blinding me that bad? Sure, I played this game a lot as a kid, but the same could be said for Rugrats Royal Ransom, and I don't think I'm gonna make a video on that. But as I played through it again for this video, every minute I spent with Goemon and his friends reaffirmed my belief that this game deserves to be remembered. It may not be some big, ambitious, groundbreaking title, but this game has heart. It has personality, and most importantly, it has a giant, sentient robot who stars in French foreign films. This game is a certified good time. And at the end of the day, that is all I'm looking for in a video game. And while this game may feel like a fever dream hallucination of silly nonsense, I also know it's one I'm going to continue coming back to again and again. If you haven't played Mystical Ninja starring Goemon, just know that this video doesn't even do it justice. This is truly one that you gotta experience for yourself. I give Mystical Ninja this motivational poster that says, "You did it!" And you know what? They really did. They really did.